Welcome to the Simmons Sporting Goods All Things Hunting Podcast, brought to you by Browning Firearms, the best there is, Realtree Outdoors, Swarovski Optic, Browning Ammo, and Banded Waders. Here's your hosts, Caleb Wallace, Cole Barthel, and Kyle Bearfield. Well, welcome back to the Simmons Sporting Goods All Things Hunting Podcast. Today's a special day. We're here at the Big Buck Contest Awards Day. It's always the first weekend of March at Simmons Sporting Goods. Simmons is going to give away a shopping spree for $10,000, and if the person who wins it, if they entered their deer wearing a Thatcher t-shirt and a Taka hat, they will win an extra $10,000 for a $20,000 grand giveaway. That's pretty awesome, fellas, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
But what we're doing today, we got some of our big buck killers coming up here that had a great season, and we're going to interview them a little bit and air it on the Simmons Sporting Goods All Things Hunting podcast and All Things Hunting TV show that comes on Fox 48 Sunday nights at 9 p.m. We've got a fun day today, but we'll get to it and start talking about these big bucks. I've got Colton Kennedy with me and his father, Todd. They had a great season this year, didn't you? Tell me about your buck.
I got him on camera the morning I went to school, and then I was going to go kill him after school. I got him on camera. I knew he was going to be there. He walked out in front of the camera and then went back in the woods. Thought he wasn't going to come out, but he came out in front of me. Got him.
There you go. What were you hunting with? What kind of weapon?
308.
308. Yes, sir. How many bucks have you killed?
This year?
Yeah, or in your life? Both this year and in your life.
I don't really know how many.
You've been laying them down though, huh?
Yes, sir.
I like it. And now tell me how big he was.
178.
178. How many points did he have?
13 or
13.
14.
Golly. What'd you think about when you heard he killed him, Todd?
Oh, I was ecstatic about it. We had a picture of the deer on camera back in August down the river, and he was about 2 miles south of the spot we had him on camera earlier. And when he came out, I was in Kansas hunting. He was hunting with our farm manager, Spencer Lambert.
Yes.
And they called me and told me I was ecstatic.
Ecstatic. Now that you said that deer was 2 miles away.
Well,
on
maybe
camera,
a mile.
But did he transition back into that area, like where you ended up killing him, or was he a surprise that he was there?
Well, I had him on camera the day before I killed him.
Yeah.
That morning I had him on camera, and he would leave during the day, then come back at night, and then come in the mornings.
Right.
So I went in the evening and I got him.
There you go, man. That's awesome. Was he feeding at night somewhere and coming back by there, you think?
He started coming at that spot probably first day of deer season. He kept coming there.
Yeah.
Then I killed him first day at rifle season.
Man, that's awesome. Is that your biggest buck ever?
Yes, sir.
That's a good one. That's a tough one to beat now. You may hunt a long time without killing one bigger than that, but then again, you may kill one next year bigger. That's what we love about deer hunting. You never know.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, Colt, man, I congratulations on a big buck. I thank you for sharing your story with us, and hope y'all have fun today. Todd, good to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Y'all have a good season this year, too.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Wicked Blend from Browning, the ultimate in waterfowl ammunition, featuring the Wicked Wad system. Aerodynamically stabilized for greater downrange energy and extra knockdown power. Loaded with precision bismuth and plated steel shot that delivers high energy retention with consistent tight patterns for cleaner kills and easy retrieves. Wicked Blend from Browning, the best there is.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to the Simmons Sporting Goods All Things Hunting Podcast. I'm Kyle Bearfield. We got Caleb Wallace and Cole Barthel. They're down here walking around somewhere. They're not with us, but they sent us 2 big deer killers up here from Texas. I got Rayleigh Brewer here with me and Ricky Brewer. If you're on social media and you follow deer hunting, you've probably seen a picture of her big buck floating around coming out of Texas. She killed a monster. But we're here at the Big Buck contest awards day at Simmons Sporting Goods, and she entered her deer with us this year. And I think it's, if not the biggest, one of the biggest in the category. Am I correct, Ray?
Yes, sir.
That's good. And so we're having a good day. We got Barrett Pepper on the mic. You can hear in the background singing. We got big bucks hanging on the wall. We got Buckmasters here scoring the bucks. This is an awesome event today. Somebody's going to win a $10,000 shopping spree. But before we get to all that, Rayleigh, I'd like to hear a deer story about your big buck.
Yes, sir. So on Sunday evening, actually it was Sunday morning, we were hunting, and it was pouring down rain. Like, it was bad. So I didn't bring any of my rain stuff, so he let me borrow his. So I wasn't getting rained on while he was. And then we didn't really see anything that morning. And usually when it's raining and cold, they usually like start moving.
Right.
Because like they can't smell you and stuff.
Right.
So, I was like shocked, and I wasn't going to go hunt that evening. But then I was like, it's cold, something's going to come out. I felt it. So we ate lunch, and we were discussing where we were going to go. And we got a picture 3 days prior to a spot where I killed him at. And it was raining, so we was like.
Picture of that same deer?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And we were like, he's going to come here.
That was actually the only daytime picture all year long that we've had of him. It was 3 days prior, and it was raining.
Man, that's awesome.
So I got in the stand, it was like 2:30ish, 3, and it was pouring down rain, and I was shaking, but that rain gear, it was working, and he was just sitting beside me. I was laughing the whole time. It was so funny, but I couldn't get my phone out, so I was really bored. But
chivalry's not dead, huh? You had to give her your rain gear. You sitting there freezing to death.
We had some buddies that she plays softball with a girl, and the guy that I know, one of my friends, they were hunting out there also youth weekend, but they sat in a box stand. I tried to talk her into it. He tried to talk her into it. He said, "Hey, I'll give you a ground blind hunt." She said, "No, she don't like doing it because she can't hear,
Yeah, I can't.
So she sat in a ladder stand, and it was raining. I bet you it rained 3 inches, and the cold front come in. Temperature went from about 65 to about 40, with the north wind. It's cold when you're wet. So.
Oh, yeah.
So at like 6:15, he left out the stand, and because he was cold, so he went back to the truck, and it was about 5 minutes later that big deer came out. He was walking a trail, and it came behind this big old oak tree, and he was like, you could see his front shoulder, and everything else was behind that oak tree. That was how big it was. And he walked out like 2 more steps, and he like turned around, and that's when I really knew it was him because I saw his kickers.
Yeah.
And he shook, and I'm telling you, it was so good.
Golly.
I was like, I wish he was there, but he was turned around, and he shook, and he looked straight back, and I shot him. Now, when I shot him, I really didn't think I made a good shot because I was shaking.
Right.
But I called him, and I FaceTimed him like 3 times, and he didn't answer. So I kept calling him, and then he finally answered my FaceTime call. And I was like, "Daddy, I shot him. I got the big one. I got the big one." And he hung up, and he started running. It was like, I don't know, like, what do you say, 50 yards?
Where you shot him at was probably 50 yards from the stand, 35 to 50.
Right.
And he went probably another 15 and then piled up in the brush top.
Man, that's awesome. What did you shoot him with?
A Savage 350 Legend.
350 Legend. That's if you're not familiar with 350 Legend, Winchester released that cartridge a couple years ago. New straight wall cartridge. It's a bad little dude.
It is
for deer hunting. Yeah. Well, man, that is a great story and an even better great deer. You think you'll ever kill one bigger?
It's gonna be hard, especially free range. It's gonna be hard.
Yes, that's gonna be hard. But that's what we love about deer hunting. You never know.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah. Well, I appreciate y'all being here, and I'm glad to have y'all at Simmons Sporting Goods. Hope you enjoy yourself today.
Yes, thank you.
Yep, good to meet y'all. Congrats on that big buck.
Thank you.
Accuracy and innovation live on in Browning X-Bolt rifles. The X-Bolt Pro family features ultra-stable carbon fiber stocks, the protection of Cerakote finishes, fluted barrels and bolts, and the innovative Recoil Hog muzzle brake. The Recoil Hog reduces felt recoil by as much as 77% while minimizing muzzle climb and dust signature to keep your downrange target in sight. Put performance in your crosshairs and squeeze the trigger on X-Bolt accuracy today.
Welcome back, everybody, to Simmons Sporting Goods All Things Hunting Podcast. I know it's hard to see on this camera, but down there we've got racks rolling in on the tables, big bucks being hung up. We got bucks down there scoring from 100 to 200, over 200, 250. You know, you hear a lot of people talk about Iowa and Kansas and all that for big bucks, but if you come to Simmons Sporting Goods Big Buck Awards Day and you see all these bucks that come from 120 miles of Simmons Sporting Goods, it'll blow your mind. There's more 200s in here than I think I've seen any year. So this is an awesome event. Buckmasters is scoring deer. We got Barrett Pepper on the mic, got food, lots of good times. Miller Lite's here sponsoring the event. Just going to be a fun time for all. We've done a couple interviews already, but we got 2 more big buck killers up here. I got Hudson Ashley with me and Jake Ashley with me. And Hudson's actually got 2 stories to tell us, but I heard you got a deer and a turkey story. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
I'll tell you what. You tell me about the turkey first, then we'll get to that big buck.
Okay, so it was one morning. We were hearing turkeys gobbling after a few owl hoots. It's about midday, you could say 9 o'clock. We're at the stand, and there's this Tom just gobbling his throat out. I mean,
yeah.
he cannot stop talking. We caught a glimpse of him, but I'm all small, I can't see him. So he says, you know what, let's crawl up here. So I'm crawling up there in that wet mud, my shotgun on my back, and my dad says, oh, there's turkey. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we're in a fork of a tree. I'm getting my shotgun up, ready to shoot him.
Right.
And he doesn't know if it's a hen or a Jake that we're seeing.
Yeah.
And he just turned, and I saw something sticking out. I'm like, Dad, it's a Jake. He said, are you sure? We can't be shooting no hen. I said, yeah, it's a Jake.
He said, I see a beard.
Yeah, I see a beard. So I get my gun up. I kind of rest in that tree. Bang. I'm really good. I'm like, dang, I missed. Dad said, no, you hit him. Go chase him. I'm like, oh. It's hard to reload these gloves I have, so I finally get it reloaded.
Yeah.
Chasing this turkey. He's chasing him, and I shoot again. He's chasing him. He gets right up on him. He trips and falls down face first in front of that turkey. He gets back up, chases it right to me, 15 yards. Bang! I just blasted him.
Got him.
Yeah.
Was it a Jake?
Yes, sir. Yeah,
That's
it was
awesome.
a Jake. It was a big Jake, though.
Was that your first turkey, or have you killed some before?
I killed a turkey before. It was like every decoy. He just came right out to that decoy, and I blasted him.
Wasn't quite the adventure that this one was, is what you're saying.
I've never had to chase down an animal. I've never had to do it. And I just always experienced, you know, when you see something come out, you just shoot it and go trail it, or you dropped him.
I'll tell you a little story too about turkeys. I was in Kansas a few years ago, and had this turkey way out in a cut wheat field, and he's out there about 55 yards, and we had made up our minds that he had figured something wasn't quite right. He wasn't coming anymore, and got to the point where we thought he's probably fixing to leave. And I said, well, I could kill one at 55 yards. I've killed him that far before. And so I bared down on his head, and boom, my shot, and he just takes off flying. And I watch him, and he's flies off down a hill. He flies about a quarter of a mile, 400, 500 yards. And I'm just down in the dumps like, dadgummit, I missed him. And then all of a sudden, I see him just fall out dead, like a dove or a duck that you shoot and they fly off and fall. Yeah. I'm watching him. He just coasting, and all of a sudden I see him kind of flutter, just boom, fall out dead. And I'm like, no way. And I walked down there, and sure enough, he's laying there dead. I guess I'd gotten a pellet, you know, in a good enough spot. But if I hadn't been in Kansas, if I had been in Louisiana or somewhere that had a lot of trees, I wouldn't have seen him.
Yep.
You know, just because that wide open, I was able to get the turkey. That's the only time that's ever happened to me. But
and that was a little bit like he was saying. We had this gobbler gobbling, and I could see him. He's about 100 yards out.
Yeah.
And every time I'd call, he'd gobble, but he's just sitting out there strutting.
Yeah,
he clearly had some hens with him.
Oh, yeah, he wanted you to come to him.
So that's what we said. We said, all right, let's crawl up there. So we're on our hands and knees crawling. And he saw us, apparently, because he quit gobbling, took off. And for some reason, this Jake stuck around.
Old Jake's out. He wanted to hang out with that hen.
So Hudson shot him. And I knew he hit him because he didn't just, if he'd have missed, you know, he'd have took off, flew off.
Right.
But he just kind of trotted off. So, you hit him. Go get him.
Yeah.
So he runs up, shoots again, and he's still just trotting off. So he has 3 shots. It's a pump shotgun.
Right.
And he was having trouble getting that third one in. And I thought he done shucked it out and it was on the ground, and we just had this turkey. So My first instinct, I got to chase this turkey down.
Yeah.
So I take off. I'm sprinting, having a foot race with this turkey. And he got probably 3 yards in front of me.
Yeah.
And, then, you know, every guy's dream, I'm about to jump on this bird and take him out.
Yeah.
So I'm getting ready to jump. About that time, I catch a limb, and I go down hard. I tumble. And that's about the time I realized that the turkey is blind. He blinded the turkey.
Oh, wow.
So he was just running based off hearing me.
Right.
So I slowed down some, and as soon as I could get close, he'd take off again. So the chase started again, and we ended up rounding him back around to him. The turkey's about 20 yards in front of me.
Finished him off.
Next thing I know, pow! There he lay.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
I mean, he was still kind of alive. He had to come and snap his neck, but
Yeah,
he
you
was
got to do
kinda-
that on all of them most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was just kind
I'll
of,
tell you what.
barely alive.
Congrats on that big turkey, but tell me about that big buck.
Ooh, he was nothing but 109, but it was crazy when I was hunting in Madison Parish, Cholula on my uncle's property. He was just letting us pre-lease it or something.
Right.
So my cousin, I had 2 cousins across in a box stand away from me, so they haven't seen nothing this whole hunt. But I was sitting there, it was maybe 6 o'clock. I see a spike, and I see a doe. And then I was texting Gideon saying, "You see anything?" And I look up, there's this 8-point just standing there. I'm like, oh, where's my gun? I put my gun up, and I knew I hit him. He had them shoulder blades up, just kind of trotting. I'm like, yeah, my first buck solo
That's
hunting
what
my
I'm talking
rifle.
about.
So I get out. He's behind the slim, so I can't really see him. So I'm calling my dad and say, "Dad, I got a bug." I'm calling him and say, "Dad, I got one." He said, "All right." And I walk out, I'm like, "He's still standing." I said, "He's still standing there." And he said, "Well, shoot him again." So I dropped my phone, picked my gun up. By the time he looked at me, he sprinted. So I'm like, all right, I'm just got to take him down and shoot him in the neck. Well, I shot him in the neck. I saw him just fall. I'm like, oh, my goodness. So then
What a shot.
and he said, you shoot him? I said, I shot him. I didn't know where I hit him. So I walk in the woods to go take pictures and look at him. And turns out I shot him in the neck. So, it was just crazy. And he was through the woods. There were limbs I had to shoot through. It was just.
That's a good shot, man.
Yeah.
Where did that first shot hit him?
That first shot, it hit him in the heart. He would have died if
Yeah.
I just got so excited.
got up
I
there
wanted to
too
go
quick
see
on
him.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My cousin thought I dropped the gun. It misfired.
Yeah. I've
Yeah.
I've had to shoot one multiple times too.
Yeah.
My first buck solo had horns about 1 inch long. In fact, one of them wasn't even busted through the skin yet. One of them was, but I remember seeing that and I said, "That's it."
Well, he had his first bow kill this year, too, with
Yep.
a
That's
nubbin
awesome.
buck. Yeah.
There was
Yeah.
actually a monster. I mean, he was non-typical, maybe an 11-pointer.
Yeah.
And there were 4 other deer, nice 8-point, little 6-point, and a spike. So that 6-point, he was just really watching that stand. That other buck, he was just eating rice bran. So I'm getting my bow, that 6-point looking at me. He puts his head back down, I'm drawing back. He picks his head back up again, and I just kind of like shook, after you kind of shake when you draw back.
Yeah.
He saw that, ran off whistling. That other buck too. He was broadside. He was an old deer. I was
Digging.
aggravated. I
Right.
even started crying a little bit.
I've
So
done
I
that
figured-
too.
So I figured best thing I can do is just rattle. I had some antlers with me, so I just bashed those. 5 minutes later, here comes what looks like to be a doe. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna shoot him. My pop said, he was taking me and my cousin Gideon out there.
Yeah.
He said, no does, no nubbins. I said, he will beat the fire out of me if he finds out. If he found out I killed a little deer, I said, he'll blow over, he'll be fine.
He'll be fine.
So I shot, and I spined that sucker because I was using my 30-yard pin, not my 10-yard pin. So he falls down. I'm like, oh, I shot a deer. I was just so happy. I see him just kind of flopping there. I'm like, oh, I got to get out. So I
Better
come
shoot
out.
him again, yeah.
Yep, I climb out. He's there flopping, just looking at me. I draw back. I shoot him in the heart.
Yep.
But he was still, kind of half alive, going, like, just last-minute breaths. I'm like, oh. I did
Sometimes they
not
do.
like seeing that.
Yeah,
no.
that's
I
just part of it. You know,
Yeah.
it is what it's a blood sport, what we do. But he's in the freezer now, and he's meat on the table, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
what it's all about.
Yep, we got his back strap. Well, that's all we had to get, his back strap, because my pop didn't. It was like 9 o'clock when we got him back. He said,
Yeah.
I don't feel like dealing with this whole deer. I said,
No, we got all the deer, Hudson.
the spike? No,
Yep.
we didn't.
Yeah, we did.
Got it all.
How did we do that?
Cleaned him.
Yeah.
Now you've been eating him. So,
I thought the nubbin I shot.
I ain't getting confused.
yeah. We can
It's
get
all
it. We can get it all. This, so ain't no
We'll,
problem.
we'll find out somehow.
Yep, that's right. Well, man, congrats on the turkey kill, big buck kill, and your first bow kill.
I plan on
That's a pretty dang good season.
I plan on doing it more this season, bow hunting. I'm gonna start practicing more. Get a new pin here at Simmons and get another pin, and I'm gonna shoot them.
That's
I'm
right,
gonna
yep.
get a bigger one this year.
All right, man. That's what we all here for. You never know if you're going to kill one bigger, but if he's not bigger, it don't matter. We still love it. So,
That's it.
well, man, I appreciate your stories, and good to meet you. Congrats
Good to
on
meet
a
you
good season.
Yep. Thank
All
you.
right.
What is it that distinguishes the best? A wanting to defy reason, disrupt industry, and captivate the imagination. To be better, you should look further, dream bigger. Aspire by Bandit. Superior.
Welcome back to the Simmons Sporting Goods All Things Hunting podcast. We're here at the Big Buck Contest Awards Day. I'm looking at those walls down there, and they're filling up with some mounts of some monsters coming from all over the country, but most of these big bucks are within 120 miles of Simmons Sporting Goods. I've already seen more 200s than you can shake a stick at, but I got two big buck killers here with me. This is Jody Wallace and Jimmy Wallace, and I hear they got a good story for us. How y'all doing today, fellas?
Doing good. How about yourself?
Good.
Awesome.
Tell me a deer story.
All right, I got a deer story for you. It happened this year, actually. We have a stand. It's my stand. Hunt it all the time, every time.
Right.
Every year, every day, every time we go. Wasn't able to go hunting that day. Told Dad, said, hey, go get in the stand. That's no worries. No worries. He hunted in my stand for 30 minutes. Killed the biggest deer that's been shot out of that stand in 20-something years we've been hunting it. And it's a big, nice 10-point. And
Man.
he sends me a text, says, hey, just shot a deer. I was like, uh-oh. He's like, good one? He's like, yeah, it's a pretty good one. I was like, ooh. He sent pictures. He almost got kicked out of the hunting club. I was about ready to kick him out. Had to call the president, say he can't hunt here no more. But, no, it's a great thing. I'm absolutely ecstatic that he shot it. But that's going to be a story that lives for years.
That's how, man, I love when stuff like that happens. It's unfortunate for you didn't kill it, but, man, if you're going to have somebody kill it, why not be you?
I was probably happier than he was, you know what I mean?
That's right.
He shot a 7-point out of my stand, so we kind of evened out.
That's right.
Yeah, we're in another club. I had to go to his, and I sat for like an hour and shot a set, but it wasn't nowhere near as big as a 10-point. But
Did y'all know that 10-point was around?
no, that was the first day that deer showed up.
up.
Had no pictures, no trail camera, nothing
Man,
on
I
it.
love that.
Yep.
Takes us back to when we used to hunt before you had trail cameras. You just go hunting,
exactly.
man, and big and
Yeah,
walk
whatever
out.
you see is what you see.
Yeah.
Look for tracks.
Sometimes I miss that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but I mean, if anybody in the club's gonna kill it, I was thrilled over the moon that he shot. I was mad at him. I'm not gonna lie. Not really mad, but more jealous. But
Yeah,
but
that's right. What he score?
I think he scored 132 ish.
Something like that.
Yeah, he
135,
wasn't. Yeah,
Good deer.
it's a great deer.
You're a great deer.
And then this joker went back 3 days later and shot like a 142 8-point on another stand. Now that's an open stand between me and him, and so I can't get mad at him on that one. But yeah, he's
It was a
knocked
good
down.
week.
Yeah, it
it
was
sounds
good.
like a great week.
Yeah,
man.
he's had a phenomenal year, which is great. So
Yeah, both those deer from Louisiana.
yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. They're from Union Parish.
Spearsville, yeah.
Yep, the Spearsville area. So
I grew up and hunted in Bienville Parish.
Yeah.
Okay.
South of Arcadia.
Yeah,
On the family
good
farm,
woods
so,
in there.
Yep. But
Yeah.
the 130 and the 140, that's monsters where I'm
yeah,
from.
it's a
You
good
don't-
deer where we hunt
You
too.
don't
So,
see those every day.
That's right.
so
Well, man, fellas, I appreciate your
Yes,
story.
sir.
Congrats on the
Good deal.
big deer and a good season. So.
yes, sir.
Welcome, everybody, back to the Simmons Sporting Goods All Things Hunting podcast. We're here at the Big Buck Awards Day. It's the first Saturday in March. Every weekend, it's where we give out $10,000 to a winner of our shopping spree. That easy to enter during the season. All you got to do is bring $1 in, have it scored. Doesn't matter if it's a spike or a 200. Put your name in the hat to win $10,000. You got to be eligible. You got to be present to win. But we've had an opportunity to see some monster bucks that come within 120 miles of this store. Anything from Pope and Young to over 200. But we've been lucky enough to interview a couple hunters that have killed some of these big bucks this year and had a good season. And here I've got Hannah Joe with me from Mississippi. She brought us a big one. And Hannah, if you got a second, we'd like to hear a deer story.
Yeah, sure. So at our deer camp, we have to draw for like what deer stand you get and when you get to pick where you go. And I went up there and got the last draw. So I was like, I'm not going to see nothing. So I asked my brother, I was like, well, where do you think I should go now? And he was like, you can go to this one. I mean, I've had it on camera a few times around some deer stands close by. And he was like, maybe you'll get lucky. So I went up there and I was in the deer stand. I didn't see nothing, hadn't seen a doe. And
so
usually
y'all knew that the deer you were hunting, the deer you killed, is that the one you were hoping to see kind of
Well,
in that area or no?
Not really. I didn't think we were going to see anything because we got the last draw.
Yeah.
And I just asked my brother. He had it a few times. We hadn't seen it in a couple weeks. And he was like, you can go here, try. You never know. So we're sitting there, hadn't seen a thing. Usually we see a few does by then. So I texted my brother, and I was like, you put me in the bad stand so you can kill a good deer. I was getting aggravated. So I'm sitting there. It's me and my stepdad in the stand. We're not really doing much. We're playing on our phones at this point.
Right.
And there's a duck hole behind us, and it's all dried out because we hadn't had some rain. And I see a couple deer, and there was a few bucks. And I, tapped him. I was like, hey, can you look see what that is? And we started looking, and they're chasing because it was Thanksgiving break, so they were pretty active during then.
Right.
And he was like, oh, yeah, if it comes into our plot, you got it. And because it's about 400 yards, the duck hole was.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And luckily the doe started trotting towards us, and so did the buck. There was a younger one chasing too, and then the one that I shot was right behind it. So I was like, oh God, I'm getting a little shaky now. And I was like, it's coming close. So luckily it started coming up in close to our food plot, and it got up on its back hind legs, coolest thing I'd ever seen, and started messing around with the tree. Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was messing around, shaking the whole tree. And it stepped into the food plot. The doe had already ran across, and it was just walking. So I was like, tell me when to shoot, and I'm shooting. Because we have some rules about have to be 150 if it's a 10-point. And he was like, you know what, if it ain't, I will. So he was like, busted. As soon as he didn't even get the words out, he was like, busted, and I shot. I couldn't. I felt like if I sat there, I would miss, start shaking.
Right. Start getting buck fever the longer you have to look at the big horns. I understand that.
He thought I missed because it didn't buckle or anything, and then it only ran probably 10 yards into the woods.
What'd you shoot him with?
I really don't know.
Rifle, though.
Yeah, it was rifle.
I got you, yep. So, and this buck is from Mississippi.
Yes, sir, Warren County.
Warren County. It's a hunting club that y'all are in that area?
Yes, Willow Break.
Yep, that's a good place and a great deer. What do you end up scoring?
For the big buck thing, it was 162 and 4/8, and then I just got it rescored with the Buck Masters. Is that what it is?
Yes, yep.
And there was 162 and 7/8.
Oh, it got bigger. I
yeah.
like that. I like
Hoping it wouldn't shrink.
Yeah, I brought one that I killed in Oklahoma, and they scored him a little less here this time than what we scored him last time. So kind of deal breaker. My buddy brought one too that he scored him himself. He was at 130, and he brought him this morning early. It was 121. He comes walking out. I think they're drunk. I don't know. So
yeah, they scored it that night at the deer camp, and it I don't remember what it scored, but they were going fast and just trying to do it. And they're like, well, it's tied for the third biggest in the camp, but if it goes off of that, then I think it beat the first.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, congrats. That's a good story, and getting the last draw worked out.
Yeah, I know.
That's deer hunting. That's what we love about it.
Yep.
Well, pleasure to meet y'all, and hope y'all have a good day, and thanks for bringing your big buck to us.
Thank you.
Well, the Big Buck Contest Awards Day is still rolling on. You can hear Barrett Pepper in the background on the mic. But looks like the crowd's getting here. It's almost time to give away that $10,000 shopping spree. But before we do that, I got Hank here with me. And I saw him bringing his deer into Buckmasters right after they scored mine. And I had to go ahead and get mine out of the way real quick because I was embarrassed because he brought in a monster, a hammer. So tell me about him.
He's pretty good deer. When they scored him up here, at first he came in at about 206 and 5/8, and Buckmaster just rescored him at 217 and 5/8.
217.
Yeah, he's a hoss.
Got some real unique kind of palmation, non-typical stuff.
All kind of stuff. I mean, he's got so much character. It's not even funny. You have to you can't even just look at him in one dimension and see him. You have to look at all sides of him too, because he has drop tines on one side and he has, the palmetto on the other side. It's just crazy. And then he actually would have been bigger, but his main beam on the right side broke off in velvet.
Really?
Yeah, we have pictures of him in velvet that with it there, but then when he came back in, he didn't have it.
Is that a Louisiana deer?
No, that's a Mississippi deer.
Mississippi deer.
Central Mississippi and out of Lexington, Mississippi.
Yeah. Oh, that's big. What's he gonna rank in the contest? You know?
He's third.
He's third. 217 and third. That just shows you the quality of the deer that you can kill within 120 miles of this store, and it's unbelievable.
It is.
It's tremendous. So, tell me a little bit about the time when you killed him.
So he showed up. He'd been in the area for a while, and everybody around us had seen him, but he never had the mass and everything that he had this year. He had a couple of drop tines last year, and everybody was kind of gunning for him, but he just kind of outsmarted them. This year he came in and just had everything. I don't know if he got hurt over the year or the jawline measured him at 5.5 years old, so he was good, mature buck, and he put on a show this year.
Yeah.
So
what do you think he scored last year? Just guessing.
If I would say, seeing what he is now, he was probably about in the 170s.
70s.
Yeah. So he blew up. Yeah.
Put on over 30, 40 inches.
Yeah. He went out and then he said, "No, I'm not done with that. I'm gonna restart another set." So he just put on a whole nother set. But whenever the week up until I hunted him for 6 days hard. And then I couldn't gauge him. He was coming out and showing up on camera like 30, 45 minutes after shooting hours in this one stand, and he wasn't showing up on any of my other cameras because we have 80 acres that I have cameras all over, and he just had this one food plot that he liked that have 2 cameras on, and we watched him, and I kept trying to gauge where he was at. I thought that maybe he was coming off of a different property, and so I hunted him as he was trying to cross over, figuring, it was about 60 yards from where I shot him, thinking maybe he's working through there, coming through here. Yeah. I hunted him in the woods. I couldn't find him. The Sunday before, on December the 3rd, I decided not to hunt that afternoon. I went with my daughter to softball practice. Yeah. We're driving home, and my phone goes off, and it's literally 15 minutes before shooting hours, and he's running through the food plot. And I'm just like, oh, my gosh. He stayed that night in front of that camera till midnight, just blowing my phone up. Yeah. So I told my wife the next day, I said, you know what? I'm going to take off work at noon. I'm going out there. I'm going to sit in that stand. I'm not going to leave, move anything. She starts jacking me all day long, saying, hey, I'm going to come out there blowing the horn on the Jeep and, trying to scare him off. You ain't going to get that deer. Well, all right, whatever. So I'm sitting out there, and I'm expecting this deer to come out one direction. And we got food plot on behind the stand and then kudzu plot on the other side that's just a big valley. Right. So we're sitting out there. I'm sitting out there by myself, and I'm watching this other area, and it's 4:30. And I just like, okay. Well, I just kind of stretched a little bit, and I looked around, and I seen some does over in the kudzu pot. So I turned around and looked at them, and then all I saw was bucks. Right. I was like, okay, well, let me just go ahead and get turned back around and grabbed the binoculars and turned around. First one I glassed, I seen drop time, and I knew it was him. And my heart,
all I need to see.
Oh yeah, my heartbeat went from 80 to 90 to 180.
Yeah.
I watched him from right at 4:30 to 4:50. He stayed grazing. Nothing was bothering him. He stayed dead straight, heading down into the down the ravine, and I just couldn't
get a shot at him.
Couldn't get him shot. Every shot it was either in the neck or up front, and I was like, well, I don't want to shoot up front because I don't want to mess up the mount, because I know I want to mount this thing. And then the does started working up towards me. They get it within 15, 20 yards of me hanging out the box stand, and they start pawing at the ground at me.
Uh-oh.
And I was like, oh no. And when I looked down at that, I looked back up. He turned his head just enough and twisted his body an eighth of a turn.
Yeah.
And I shot. And he jumped off and ran. I said, oh no, I missed him. So I didn't even wait. Usually I'll wait, and anything else, I was too pumped. I didn't walk down. We got a road that goes around the kudzu patch. I didn't go down that road or anything.
Yeah.
I just ran straight through all the kudzu. Bailed off into it.
Yeah.
I saw where he ran out. I glassed him, and I watched everything when he ran out. So I went over where I shot him at, and I saw where he was. I saw hair and everything, so I knew I hit him. I didn't find any blood. Well, I saw there's 2 trees that he ran between. I went over to those 2 trees, started looking, and it's probably about 15 minutes after probably 20 minutes after I had shot him.
Yeah.
And I get over there to that section, I start seeing blood. I said, all right, good.
Heck yeah.
I stopped right there. I said, I'm going to give me a few minutes. I text everybody. I text my wife now about 5 o'clock. My wife goes, I'm about to head out that way. I said, good, bring flashlights. She's like, what? I was like, I just shot him.
I shot him.
She goes, you're lying. Okay.
So bring some lights. Yeah.
So I went ahead and followed the blood in a little bit further before everybody else could get out there to where I was. I got my headlamp on, and I look up, and he's looking back at me.
Oh, man.
Laying there just nursing that wound.
Yeah.
And just looking back at it, and I was like, okay, got to back out. He's laying down, but I can see his horns. I can see him.
Yeah.
And he's massive. I mean, so I was like, all right, let's just back out. I drop a pin on him. We waited 45 minutes, came back out there. My son jumped in the tractor with my grandfather.
Yeah.
This was on my grandfather's land.
Right.
Came out there, and we went to go check him, and he was done.
He was dead or gone?
He was done.
Okay,
He was done. He didn't move another step.
Yeah.
So we were able to drag him out. My son helped me drag him out. My daughter was laughing at me the whole time. She's videoing because I'm like so nervous and so pumped. I'm falling off myself trying to drag him out.
That's a tremendous.
I didn't quit smiling for. I don't think I've quit smiling.
Yeah, man, that's a tremendous whitetail.
He was. I mean, we got him out there, and we just couldn't. I mean, whenever they taking pictures, I couldn't take a good picture because my smile was so big. I mean, it was just funny.
It's hard to show everything off from him too, from just a one picture angle.
Yeah, it is. I had to end up taking video of him on the way to get him processed and everything. I took a video of him just to show my buddies like what
everything
all he had.
Got, yeah. Man, what a story! What a deer! That's gonna be a tough one to top.
It is. Everybody keeps telling me, "What are you gonna start hunting now?" I say, "I guess I'm gonna go to moose and elk." I don't know.
Yeah, but no, the thing about deer hunting, we love deer hunting. We always want to kill the bigger one, but don't have to be bigger.
Well, that's the good thing about us. We eat 90% of all the meat that we eat in our house is venison. So the kids, Walker hadn't gotten one yet, but my daughter kills does, and we're trying to get her into a buck. But we kill 5 or 6 a year and put them in the freezer, and that's what we eat off of them. It's the resource for us.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That makes it even better.
It does.
Taking care of your family.
Yep.
So, man, I appreciate you telling that story with me, and congrats on a great deer and a great season.
Thank you, sir.
So, see y'all later.
See you.
Welcome back, everybody, to Simmons Sporting Goods All Things Hunting Podcast. We're here still at the store at the Big Buck Contest. Crowds rolling in. The big bucks are already here. We've seen some monsters and had talked about some stories with some monsters, but we're going to give away a $10,000 shopping spree down there here not too much longer, so should be probably in about 30 more minutes. Somebody's going to win $10,000, and one of the sponsors on this event, Taka Gear, have guaranteed another $10,000 to the winner that took their picture and entered their deer while wearing some Taka gear. So somebody may win $20,000.
Oh, wow. Is that what that is?
But
Ah.
he knows what's up. I'm looking at the card right here I got Josh with me, looking at his card. He was smart enough to buy some Taka gear to see if he could win that extra $10,000, so that's good. But he told me a little bit about his deer when we were sitting down just getting started. But Josh, I'm going to ask you to tell your story to everybody, because it's a good story, a monster deer, and from what I hear, you said that those deer that big, they don't come by that often in your area.
Well, man, I'm going to start saying thanks for having us on.
Yes, sir.
Man, we run a cattle ranch down about a little bit south of central Louisiana, and we got several thousand acres down there, but it's mainly cattle pasture, and I mean, we're river bottomed
right
to no end. I mean, it's a terrible place to be during the winter, to be honest with you. But I mean, once it gets wet, you can kiss it goodbye. You will have a good pair of rubber boots.
Right.
But we got, I don't know, probably 5-6 years now under our belt where we really started getting into agriculture a lot heavier again. And because used to, we plant a lot of rice and we did a lot of crawfish trapping and everything every season. But about the last 5-6 years, we really got heavy into the soybeans and the wheat and a little bit of corn. And man, when I tell you it's made the difference, because the piece that we're actually hunting, like I said, it's pretty much split down the middle. But I bet you we see twice the deer we were seeing 10-15 years ago. And
really?
The quality, though, is the big thing. I mean, you went from an average 4-year-old to 5-year-old buck in Louisiana being, which on our deal, that's what we're aiming for, is the age more than the size.
Right.
But an average deer went from 130 inches, 135 inches. I mean, a big 8-point would get everybody just off their feet, excited, absolutely. I mean, I bet you we've probably got up to 155, 160s in the past year as an average. I mean, it's grown phenomenally, and we're very blessed and very thankful to have that. But man, this deer here, he's currently, I guess he finished out on third this year on the contest. We named him Samson, and down there, nothing has a different frame. It seems like you were looking at all of our points came from mass.
Right.
And just your number of points. Your frame never really played a role. Big deer was going to be 18 inches.
Yeah.
18 inches inside. And if you're lucky to get something over 9-10 points, well, then you had a scoreable deer on top of that.
That's right.
But it was 8-9 points. I mean, that's everybody around us. We're doing a lot better now just because of the amount of land we have. We've kind of landlocked the area. But everybody around us shoots everything.
Right.
And so
makes all you can do grow
is, all you can do is pray that the deer are smart enough to stay. We got the food, we got the bedding, we got everything you need. If you'll just stay here, you're going to make it.
Right, that's right.
And until the rut, that works. And everything gets stupid. But this deer was a bit of a wild card. Like I said, we named him Samson, and we first got pictures of him at 3.5 years old. And I didn't know he was 3.5 at the time because he didn't look like a traditional 3.5-year-old. But he showed up the second of December,
maybe? Did you think he was older or younger then?
Oh, older, yeah. I mean, and that's, granted, that's strictly off of the rack because at that point, I mean, December down there, we have a late rut, but I mean, it's probably been going on for about a week at that point, December 5th, 6th, something like that.
Right.
And so it's kind of hard to judge. And some of these deer are different than others. I mean, we've killed deer pre-rut that were 275, 300 pounds. We've also killed some post-rut that weighed 215 that were, 280. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of hard to judge. But at 3.5, this deer was 150, 155. The only reason I know that is because it's the only deer we have on this property with matching sheds for multiple years.
There you go.
And so at 155, we went from hunting several thousand acres to, all right, let's hone down to maybe
kill this
150 acres right here. We got multiple setups, multiple blinds, multiple climbers. because it's a family hunt thing. This isn't a lease or anything like that. And so
Right.
it's 3 or 4 of us. Hey, let's really hone in on this spot. Well, no luck that year, and he was like a ghost. You know, we got 5, 6 pictures, and they were all daylight pictures. That's the crazy thing. They were all daylight pictures, and nobody's seen him.
Huh.
Season ends, you know, and well, I hope he's back next year, you know, but we didn't see him any of the. I mean, we put cameras out early. Hell, we keep them out pretty much year round, and we feed year round. But for him to show up in December out of nowhere, and to have this much land and have as many cameras as we do, like it's kind of mind-boggling. Like, how does this happen? You know, and so he disappeared. Well, at 4.5. What we were thinking, you know, he shows back up, and he's a good deer, and he's probably still 155.
Yeah.
And once again, December 2nd to December 7th, that was his show-up period, and he did it every single year. Yeah. We would have 20 different bucks on camera.
Right.
I'm talking about 3.5 or older, and never would see this deer. I mean, at all. Even during that preseason stage where you get 5 and 6 bucks together on camera, you know, at one time.
He wasn't there,
He just was nowhere to be found. And so, 4 years old, nobody saw him during the daylight. Fast forward to 5, and when I say he blew up, he went from knowing that he's at 185 now.
Yeah, 30 inches it sounds like it's, you know.
He was
bigger.
over that.
Oh, he was bigger.
He was bigger. Ooh. I mean, man, I'll show you some pictures in a second. He lost 10 to 15 inches in length this year.
Wow. Golly.
Yeah, and all I can figure and contribute is to this big drought we had down there. 'Cause, I mean, a lot of our crops didn't blow up like they would normally were and everything, but I didn't realize how big this animal was. I mean, he looked great, and his frame looks big, but I mean, you know, everybody falls victim to a trail cam picture. It happens.
That's
you know,
right.
The deer that's 20 inches, you shoot him, he's 17. Like especially on a smaller body deer, and he never looked overly large, like bodied, but he didn't show up till December, so nobody really knew what a baseline was for this deer. And at 6.5, I guess, me and her got after him and decided, hey, look, we were really going to hone in on him, and we had a weekend free, and I had a little one incoming and whatnot, and so I said, you know, I'm not going to have this much time next year. We've really got to get after him. And I was getting these pictures on one of my little blinds, and a lot of our blinds are looking at maybe 1,000 yards of road. Like, you're hunting big crossings mainly, you know, thickets to woods.
Yeah.
And we have several stands in this wood line, but it's all about picking the right one. Well, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, I would drive through this spot. It's probably about a 200-yard gap, and I'd always see buck tracks coming through here. And I was like, you know, what are the odds something's just crossing through here and just bypassing, or if nothing else, moving at night, or it's so much land, not crossing at all, because they never technically had to come across some of these big roads to get where they needed to. And so we put a stand there, and man, the amount of bucks that would start showing up on this camera, it went from being like some of these spots you can go see 20, 25 head of deer.
Yeah.
This spot, you were never going to go see that.
Right.
You were never going to see more than 5, 6 head of deer.
But you were
going to see 4 and 5 bucks every time. And when the rut hit, it was it was a nightmare, because you would sit in this one spot, and I can remember her looking at me at one point and going, like, you are shaking. Like, you were shaking. Because every time a deer would walk out, you knew it had horns. You could see them 10 yards in the brush coming.
Right.
Because, I mean, you're 30, 40 feet up above where they were coming out at.
Right.
And so it was like, here he is. This is going to be him. This is going to be him. And he kept showing up here, but it was at night. And so we decided to move forward. We have a bedding area spot in front of that stand.
Yeah.
And we decided, hey, we're going to beat him to this spot, because he's not showing up here until dark, or he's getting here right before daylight.
Yeah.
He's got to be somewhere, you know.
Well,
he's clearly up and moving.
Well, last year when we went on your stand, he was showing up right before dark.
And that was the thing. And so we were like, well, let's go get somewhere. It ain't do us no good to sit on this little crossing spot with a 200-yard window if he's not showing up till dark, right? And so me and her moved forward to this bigger blind, and it's a bedding area. It's probably about a 100-acre bedding area. We got multiple lanes cut in it, but I mean, It's woodlocked all the way around. Like on a good windy day, you can go sit in that stand and be warm. That is the only good spot for that. And we sat there one morning, I think it was December 9th maybe of last year, or the year before, I'm sorry, when he was 6.5.
Yeah.
And I said, this is going to do it, because my other stand's only about a quarter mile as a crow flies away, but he's showing up there at dark still, you know. And so we're sitting there, and the deer are rutting, and we've seen a few deer, a couple young bucks. Phone vibrates, goes off. Here's a trail cam pic from my 200-yard gap window. 9:25, here he is in daylight. First daylight picture ever.
We were going to hunt that stand initially, but Josh was like, no, I think we're going to go try this other one because that's where he's been showing up.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's been showing up at this spot, but it's all dark. Like I said, ain't no good if we're not going to be there.
That's
you know,
right.
He's got to be somewhere before. Let's get in the woods. Let's go get after him.
Right.
And so after that, you know, your wings are deflated. Like, I mean, what do you do? And so nobody saw this deer until about January 2nd or 3rd of 2023. Yeah, I killed a pretty good 9-point, about 145-inch 9-point. And he come on out, and I shot him. And I had my best friend with me at the time. I'm giving Seth Young a shout out. He was with me all season, and we shot. And I busted this deer, and he hit the dirt. We were all excited. You know, we're packing up the bag, and we're about to go get the bike and go load him up. And we're hunting one of them big long stretches that I'm talking about. We shot this deer in the thicket, but the road on either side, you can see 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
Maybe more actually on certain sides. And I look down to my right, and at probably 600 yards, a doe's running out. And, I mean, you see deer all up and down these roads. Like, you're counting the deer you see on your spot. Because if you count everything you see, I mean, you're going to count 50 head of deer that morning.
Right.
And that doe comes running out, and this is 600-700 yards. So when a deer can come out at 700 yards, and you go, oh, damn.
That's a
like,
monster.
that's a big deer. I grab my binoculars because we don't have a trail cam picture of Samson for the last 2 weeks. I'm thinking he's done got shot somewhere, or he left the property, because he's clearly not staying here, you know?
Right.
And I look down there in the binoculars, and I see this frame that looks like a 200-inch mule deer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, in a big giant fork, the whole 9 yards. And I remember thinking, so he's here. Like, and I just killed this deer. And I'll say this, I'm a very safe hunter. I don't take little pot shots. Like, my biggest fear, and I've done it twice now, is wounding up a good deer, and it's just a gut-wrenching feeling, you know. As hunters, you don't hunt these animals because you hate them.
That's right.
You know, you're probably some of the more compassionate people in the world when it comes to an animal. When you wound one, you can't feel any worse, if you're me at least.
Yeah, I know the feeling.
And so
same thing.
I won't take a bad shot. And he worked all the way into about 500 yards, and I'm shooting a 300 mag, and I've made a 500-yard shot, but this is on pigs, you know. I'm not going to take that on a world-class whitetail. Yeah. And so I let him go, and nobody's seen him. Not a trail cam picture, not a daylight sighting, no nothing. And so fast forward to 7.5 this year, and there's this new deer shows up before season, which is completely uncharacteristic of Samson. And he's, a phenomenal deer.
They almost just called my number. I'm sorry. But
they were. He's clearly got over a 20-inch frame, and he's got the 6-inch drop time. And that's a rare thing down there. You don't see a lot of drops anywhere.
Right.
But the same big mass, 7-inch, 8-inch bases, you know, and carrying that weight like that. Clearly an older deer on top of that. And I could not make myself say that's Samson, because he was, as great as he was smaller than Samson last year. And I never saw him fully develop, but in my mind, he was only a 5-year-old still. So I know there's no way he's on the way down yet. And, we got 4 or 5 night pictures of this deer by December, I guess.
And the beginning of December, because he was shot on the 26th, the day after.
Yeah, day after Christmas. And, just a stud. But still, he's not as good. So I'm thinking, like, when's Samson will show up?
Yeah.
You know, it should be any day now, right? And so
I thought he wasn't going to show up because he was showing up at the beginning last year.
Oh, yeah, and like I said, before season, I have pictures of this deer in the background of one of my big feeders I had. We had a bunch of big cattle feeders that just got retired, and we'd move them in there, and all the bucks were still together. And I've got like 230, 140-inch deer in this picture, and in the background you see this deer with a 25-inch frame. You're like, oh.
Yeah.
You know, and this big drop and everything, but he just wasn't as good. And so, and that wasn't his MO. You know, he didn't show up like that. And so I remember thinking, like, that's just not him. It's not him. We'll come about December 10th or so. He showed up on a daylight picture on a stand. Actually, the one that me and her hunted the year before when he showed up on my other spot.
Yeah. And
I don't know if it was the angle or what. He has these characteristically like big, long, curvy beams, but like they hook at the end.
Right.
And maybe that's what it was. Him. And it was kind of heartbreaking to a sense because like he's smaller. Like, is he sick? You know, did he lose? Is he older than what I'm thinking? Like, what's going on with this deer?
Right.
But either way, that's him.
Yeah.
And at that point, you can't base it off if he's sick or not. You just got to hone in and say, like, maybe he's older than what I thought. And
this was him on the 11th, because that's his
drop
time
that's
right there. That was in the morning, I believe.
Yeah.
What's the time? Yeah.
And so that's it.
He may be smaller, but he's not small.
No. And so, but I mean, just a giant still. But you know, just is he going to be smaller next year? Do we pass him and let him get back to his form? You know, nobody's going to pass this deer. Let's be realistic.
Yeah.
And so, and I've hunted this deer religiously now for 3 years. And I'm talking about, there's a couple of other deer on the hit list, but we manage it pretty tight.
Yeah.
Because like I said, we have a lot of land around there. So thankfully, we're very blessed to be able to do that. But, man, it was no secret that whoever he walks out on is going to shoot him.
Yeah, that's right.
But we kind of had, I guess, narrowed him down to it was either going to be me or my father that kills this deer.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we had family come in and everything. My family does not hunt that often. They just don't have the opportunity. So when they come in for Thanksgiving, Christmas, everybody wants to shoot and everything. It's a tradition that everybody who can't shoot shoots when they get there.
Yeah.
I don't think we have more wounded deer throughout the year until they show up.
Like this one's him.
This is actually that daylight picture that I'm talking about.
That was at 5:30, and
he's got that wraparound main beam. It looks
that was
just
on
like
the 20th. Yeah, that was the week that they all came in.
And so they all come in, and we told them, like, hey, look.
Hold on 1 second, I'm going to break it. Get my camera with the mic. Get my camera with the mic. Yeah, all right.
Like, we got mold.
We got about 20 more minutes, so after you do hers, that'll be it for that.
All right, we'll finish up. And so we told the family, like, look, he just started showing up at daylight. I love all of you. But if this deer comes out, I'm not telling you don't shoot him. Nobody in their right mind would pass this deer. But if you shoot him, don't take a 400-yard pot shot on this deer with your 223 AR or some shit, you know?
Yeah.
Don't do it. Like, let him get in close. If you can shoot this deer in the neck or right behind the shoulder or anything, I just want to find him. That's the big thing, you know?
Yeah.
We don't have history with deer, like I said, like that because everybody around us shoots everything.
Yeah.
And they're just now getting to the point where they will stay on top of us because we have all the food, all the bedding, all the does, everything.
Right.
And so, sure enough, we get all the family piled up. My dad, he's basically the patriarch. He's just a magnet. He can't get away from the good deer. If I put him on the back porch, he's going to kill the big deer.
Kill the big one, that's right.
It's annoying. And so me and her get after him this year. I got a babysitter for the evening because I've got a 1-year-old next month, and he's busy, and my grandfather wanted to keep up with him. I said, we're going to go get after Samson this evening. And I got a picture the evening before it, like 6 o'clock in the afternoon. I said, man, you're pushing your luck, you know, and that's 100 yards. You're 15 yards past that, you know, at 5:30, I can kill you comfortably.
Yeah.
300 yards, I'll take this shot. And so that next afternoon, I was like, we're going there. So we get set up. My dad goes to his little, it's his little bow blind that he loves.
He said he was getting away from everybody else because we were all hunting.
He's this big, passionate bow hunter now. Right. You know, he's really gotten into that over the years. And he went in there and he cut limbs with his Sawzall. He went in there, brushed it up, did the whole 9 yards. And this is 50, 75 yards away from this big blind that he said he's going to go sit in afterwards. He's like, because otherwise I'm going to drive across somebody. Yeah. You know, and I don't want to do all that. Like, let's all get still. I'm doing this to hunt the next morning is what he's saying.
Right.
So he goes and sits in this stand. And before we went out that evening, he shot. He wanted to make sure his rifle was still on. He missed a hog or something like that.
Yeah.
And it left him with 2 shells. He gets on the stand, went in there for 30 minutes. Boom! You hear that hit right after. And I called him. I said, what did you shoot? Well, I shot a big old boar hog. I said, okay. He said, and then he texted me again. He said, hey, you don't happen to have any extra 300 shells on the bike? Because it was parked in between us. Like, we weren't that far apart.
Yeah.
I said, no, I don't. They're here in my bag. Why? Well, I didn't reload after we shot earlier. I'm down to 1 shell. I said, okay. I said, well, you see another pig, drop him, I guess. I don't know what to tell you.
That make it count.
Yeah, yeah. And so we're sitting here in the stand, and it's maybe 4:45. Boom! And she looks at me. She goes, that was your dad again, wasn't it? I said, yeah. And she goes, he shot another pig? I said, he had 1 shell left. He didn't shoot a pig with that.
I bet he didn't shoot a pig, yeah.
I called him, and sure enough, man, I shot Samson. And so, there's that feeling of like, yes, we're finally going to get him. And there's also that feeling of just like utter despair, like I know that sounds probably stupid to anybody who's not an avid deer hunter, but it's just like, God, I put my heart and soul into this deer. And so he tells me like, yeah, I don't know. He was quartering away real bad. He was on this doe. He was in that bedding area that I was talking about earlier and just appeared,
Yeah.
And my dad, after he'd done lectured everybody, take the smart shot, didn't do it. Son, I found blood, but I'm scared to go in further after him,
Yeah.
I said, well, then don't,
Don't, yeah.
But like anybody else with that big of a deer, he went in after him. He jumped him. And so Dad was like, well, we should go get the dog. Like, we can go back this evening. I said, no. Like, our chances went from okay to finding him to, extremely slim now that you jumped him. He only had like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I said, let's wait. Wait till tomorrow morning. I'm still trying to get her a deer during this whole thing. My season at this point, I'm thinking, like, I'll wait till next season now. I don't care. Like, I've gotten to the point in my career now where I really want to get somebody else a good deer.
Right.
Like, I've got a couple of 170s on the wall. I'm thrilled. And we go out that next morning. I'm telling him, just do not show up the night before. Do not go looking for him. Listen to me, please. Like, you are the pro here, but listen to me for once. And so he held off. Well, that next morning, he comes out about 10 o'clock. So let's go find him. And so we're going through these palmettos and everything. It's about chest high. And he's brought his newly trained blood dog out.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever trailed with a newly trained blood dog, but it never goes like you anticipate.
Yeah, that's
He was so spastic.
Oh, God, it's a black lab. He's crazy. You've been around a black lab puppy, I'm sure. Man, they got more energy than a crackhead. You just can't do nothing with them. And so this dog's running out. He's 200 yards away from us. Last blood is from them is at least 200 yards. And we're just kind of walking at this point. I'm thinking, we've done wounded this deer. We're not going to find him. We have all this history. I'm heartbroken.
Yeah.
And she's just walking through this little creek bottom. All of a sudden, she goes, hey, is this blood? And I pick up the leaf. It sure as heck is,
It sure is.
And I holler at him. Dog's howling down there and everything. Dad, hey, we got blood. Well, he ain't listening to me. He ain't listening to me. Whatever. So at this point, I'm just thinking, let's just keep following it. Maybe we'll get lucky.
Yeah.
And so we walk for about another 100 yards, 150 yards, and we're finding just a spot here or there. And thankfully, these palmettos are getting brown. So anything that hits it with a lot of force is snapping it over.
Breaking it, yeah.
And so it's almost being able to follow a trail in a sense. And we have a ton of deer, ton of hogs down there, so it's not always foolproof. But at the time, it's all we had, and so we're just cruising through there.
Mm-hmm.
And then out of nowhere, you just hear this thrashing. And I'm thinking, like, we just got a group of hogs around us or something like that. They're taking off, anything. And this deer who's hit in his back hip, all of a sudden has got 3 legs and can jump probably 6-7 feet in the air still.
Yeah.
And he just dive-bombing these palmettos. And he's probably 25 yards from us. I'm not a pistol person. I'm not good at it. I'll be the first person to tell you, if you break into my house, you have a 50-50 chance. I better use a shotgun because I don't know why. I just can't shoot him to save my life. And I pull this 10-millimeter Glock off my hip, and boom, boom, boom. Third one, you just hear a smoke right behind him. And he goes down. And it registered in my head. And she's over here at my hip going just like, what the hell's going on,
where in the hell did he go?
Yeah. And then, like, was that even the same deer,
Right.
And in my mind, I knew exactly what had just happened, but I was kind of flabbergasted. Like, there's no way. I mean, he shot this deer at this point, 18 hours ago.
Yeah.
You know, and we're 300 yards from last blood. Like, there's no way he laid there for that long and is still alive.
Yeah.
Because we found no bedding, no nothing, no big blood patches where he just bedded up and moved. Even when he jumped him, we didn't find anything.
Right.
You know? And walk up to him, and instantaneously, even though like I wasn't able to put the shot on him out of the stand, it was just
relief
you
and
had
excitement.
to stop and just say a prayer for a second, just be like, you know, this is God. Because like, as stupid as this is gonna make me like stay up at night if we don't find this deer.
Yes.
And I called Dad over there. He brings his dog, who then, of course, gets on the blood, 50 yards once the deer's down. And Dad's all excited.
Yeah.
It's his dog. His new dog found the deer, It had nothing to do with the 3 shots that were getting fired. And he's over here freaking out 200 yards away.
Yeah.
And so gets over there, and he's all thrilled. Life's great, and we just have this moment of awe. Like, man, we finally did this. And so it really was. As far as down there, you don't get history with deer, like I said. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Everybody shoots everything. And we're just now getting to that point to hold a few deer.
Yeah.
And
Man.
to see this one finally go down, man,
that's awesome.
It's completely ridiculous. And when we got him, don't get me wrong, he was huge. I never would have guessed he was 185.
That's what it was. You and Jace.
Yeah, I mean, that's me and my son with him.
Describe him real quick, what he was.
He's
Proud
25,
times, yeah.
so he's 25 and a quarter inside.
Yeah.
He's 26 outside. He's got a 7-inch base, which down there, we're in the swamps. You're notorious for getting big base deer.
Heavy horn deer, yeah.
Dad killed one with a 9-inch base like 3 years ago. He was a big coal buck,
Yeah.
but they always shallow out, like halfway up that main beam. Not like your Kansas deer and stuff like that. They typically don't have big bases, but they carry that mass and get bigger.
Right.
This is the first deer I can honestly say is like carrying that swooping mass really, really well.
Yeah.
And then the drop time.
Oh yeah, like
that's new compared to what he was.
oh yeah, he's got
year.
this 6-inch drop now, and
Fort
he had
G2.
Oh
yeah.
I mean he's
a mainframe.
He's a mainframe 8
with a Fort G2
with a
and
fork
a drop.
and a drop.
Yeah.
And
Show him
like,
what he was.
oh my
real
God,
quick.
look at this.
What he was.
But fast forward, we get one of our neighboring properties. I'll tell you how big this place is now that we've really got to landlock it.
Yeah.
One of our closest neighboring properties, 7 miles away. And he sees the pictures, and he's like, y'all killed him. And we're like, what are you talking about? He said, and he starts sending us sheds. He sends us pictures. We now have matching stuff.
Wow.
He's watched this deer grow up from 2.5.
Wow.
He's missed him twice with a bow.
Yeah.
I can't, as bad as I felt that we didn't get him outright the way I wanted to, which I'm very blessed and thankful that we did the way we got him, but I can't imagine. And for him to be an upstanding guy like that, like just to send us those sheds.
That's awesome. He sent you
man,
the sheds, for real.
Yeah, it's the only reason I know what he scored as a 3-year-old now.
Yeah.
Like right at 155. And
That's
so,
what Josh was like. It's crazy at how much he traveled.
Yeah.
But to show up in the same week, 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
Like it's amazing because I don't know. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But I know for damn sure they don't have a paper clock or up on a damn tree somewhere where they're checking off dates, And so just to have that primal instinct to know exactly where to be
What
every
time of the year. It's crazy.
Like, how does that happen?
We got deer in Oklahoma that some of them leave us at the same time every year, and some of them show up on us at the same time every year.
See how much length he had the year before, dude. He's not even.
Yeah.
That big giant fork he had back there. Oh my God, yeah. The only thing he gained was that drop
Big
time,
drop.
which don't get me wrong, it's a 6-inch drop. So I mean, you're not losing that much.
That's an old age thing too.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
But I
Sometimes
mean,
they blow
you see,
crazy stuff
I got the
when they get
sheds from a couple years in a row. Like that was.
Oh man, that's great.
It was insane, and by far and away one of the coolest deer. I mean, like I said, we're at this point now we're passing deer that we're going out of our way. I mean, we got several like good bucks that we're just. Everybody's trying just to make sure that we're letting everything walk because you don't want to.
Yeah.
You don't want to screw something up and shoot the wrong dang deer.
That's
you know?
right. That's right.
And God Almighty, like it's the biggest sense of the I guess of relief as a hunter to finally get him down. But I'd be lying to you if I said there wasn't a huge part of me that's looking at this upcoming season and going like, man, I can't wait to see what we have, and like I'm looking for sheds already and life's great and everything, but as far as next year.
But you miss him.
Yeah, like December comes around, I'm still going to be excited, but do you really focus that hard now like you were? I mean, it's a completely different game plan.
That's right.
And so, and I hate this. Like I said, this is the biggest joint effort ever. I'm actually accepting everything today under my father's name. We put it under him since he made the shot off the stand.
Right.
And then I was just lucky enough to recover him the next day, basically.
Yeah.
But he fell off we have a sawmill business, and he fell off a hydraulic loader this week and fractured his knee. He got out of surgery 2 days ago.
Golly.
And so he's stuck back home.
He's laid up right now.
Oh, yeah, he's probably hating his life, I'm sure. And I told him we were getting on a podcast about 30 minutes ago, and that just suits him like no other. He's a celebrity in his own mind,
That's right.
And
that's awesome to be able to hunt with your father.
Oh man, it's something
that event.
Like I said, I have a new 1-year-old now. This month, actually, he'll be 1, and that's one of the things I'm actually most excited about. I killed my first deer at 5 years old, as much as you can at 5. I shot one in like Fredericksburg, Texas, weighed about as much as my dog probably. With a 22-250.
Yep.
And to this day, I still get excited when me and the old man are getting out there on the same days, because life gets busy. You don't get to share that all the time. But
that's right.
Man, it is something special. It truly is. And it seems like magic always happens when we get together.
Yeah.
And, because days are busy. He can go one day, I can't go the next. And it's, like I said, a family place. And so we're all just putting our heads together, trying to make the whole thing work. And every time, it seems like something happens. Now, granted, I will say, I'm starting to lose faith in the whole, passing down the torch thing, because, like I said, he's a magnet. It always ends up with me putting in the work now and him end up getting the big one, no matter a great flood or a drought or no matter what. He's had me driving fence posts off flooded roads so we could drive the side-by-side out and see where we're going.
Right. There you
go. And he still comes out with the deer every
buck.
time, So I'm hoping with old age, maybe that magnet
He'll
falls
pass
off
that
and I can
magnet
just grab that on. But,
go.
man, it's still, like I said, regardless, it's such a blessing. And definitely you have to give all the glory to God for something like this. But it's just the culture, it's something, especially a dying culture, like what we're really trying to, especially something like this that we're really trying to keep going.
Yeah.
It's really, really, really great to still have that in this family, and I hope it's just really something I can pass along.
That's right. Man, that's an awesome story and an even better buck. So congrats on a great deer and a great season. I'm sure, just like deer hunting, we always want to kill one bigger every year, but
good luck for
we
me.
don't, but we don't, that rarely happens. And we still love it the same. So this season, I know Samson's gone. You'll miss him, but you'll find
man,
one that'll get you
I
fired
hope he
up
was
just
a
as
playboy. That's all I can say.
Yes,
I
sir.
hope he found every doe and heat that he could.
That's right. Well, I appreciate y'all being on the podcast.
Man, we
with
thank
us.
you for having us out here, and man, we're very grateful to be a part of this whole thing. I would have never thought he was going to take third at 185. I don't know if that's a down year for Louisiana or what, but I'll say this: I don't see a frame out there that impresses me no more.
We saw when they hung him up. We said that's the man.
Well, no. See, we weren't even lucky enough to bring his horns today.
Oh, I thought that was him hanging right there.
No,
okay.
we got I don't see one deer out there that's got a frame that matches him with the mass and width combined. But he's down south, and I've been working all week, and my dad's got him with that fractured knee. And to make this trip today, we took off work, so there wasn't no way I was gonna be able to bring the horns too.
Yeah. Wow,
but
man.
It's a crying
you
shame.
coming, so.
Man, we
Good
appreciate
luck.
you.
Hope y'all win that $10,000. That'd make it even better,
Me
huh?
and you both.
Welcome back, everybody. Simmons Sporting Goods, All Things Hunting Podcast. We just gave away $10,000 in a shopping spree, and just so happened the fellow that won it, he was wearing Taco when he entered his deer, and so he won the $10,000 cash from Taco. It's an unbelievable. He came and won $20,000 today at this show. We saw some big bucks. I've got a big buck here, the second place in the women's compound bow division. Got Miss Kimmy Smith here with a heck of an 8-point. Tall, super tall, brow-tined 8-point. That's a great deer. Congrats on that deer. So, what we've been doing on this podcast, we've been going through some deer stories and letting people tell the story about how they killed the deer. You're welcome to talk about if you knew him, if you were hunting that particular deer, a different deer. You can tell me anything you want, but I like hearing the deer story, so I'm going to turn it over to you now.
Thank you. So, yeah, I'm from Tensall Parish, and we have private family land there.
Yeah.
I actually won the big buck contest when I was 9 in the youth division.
Wow.
Yeah, and he wasn't killed too far from there. So big bucks coming out of Tensall Parish. There was a lot of Tensall Parish deer.
Ones. Yes.
Yeah, Sportsman's Paradise, of course. But yeah, we had only had one picture of him, and it was at night. And on the hoof, we scored him like, camp stories. We scored him
What'd
in
you think he was?
150, 158, yeah, something like that. And I had hunted in a ground blind, same spot, same routine for 6 days straight. I mean, all day long, just hard hunting, hard hunting. And finally, my dad was like, let's try something different, this evening. And, like kind of when you like sit in a deer stand and you kind of picture like how the deer's going to come in and this is how I'm going to shoot and it's all going to work out in this picture perfect thing. Well, that's what I thought was going to happen. So I was kind of hesitant to move stands.
Yeah.
But I did. I moved from a ground blind to a lean-to ladder stand. And the sun was going down. It was beautiful. Louisiana's kind of flat, but I was kind of on a ridge of sorts.
Yes.
And I was sitting there just, I like to pray to God when I'm in the stand or feel really close to Jesus.
I'm the same way.
Yeah, and that sun going down behind them trees, man. If it's something you haven't seen, it's definitely something you should see at least once in your lifetime. So I was sitting there and, just talking to God, just kind of relaxing after that week of hard hunting. I was like, you know what, man, I'm just relax. I'm going to just not worry about it. I'm going to relax. And
just have a good sit, good time. That's right.
And I caught something out the corner of my eye to the left. And when I looked over there, man, he was just perfect, just standing on top of that ridge, just the sun going down behind him. And, I mean, right hand to God, I really did think that I was on the hunting channel. Like, I was watching the hunting channel, and I was wow, that's beautiful. And then, like, a millisecond later, I was like, oh, my God, like, I've got to shoot. Yeah, like.
Or your bow. Actually.
Yeah, I was like, oh, my gosh, this is me. Like, I got to get my stuff together. Like, it's time to, we put this plan into action. And so, man, I got everything ready. He was at 75 yards when he came out. And I had my rangefinder around my neck, and I was ranging him, and, boy, he was walking left to right, a straight line, not coming in any closer.
Right.
I mean, my heart starts pounding when I'm talking about it. I was just praying, just come a little bit closer, a little bit closer.
What time of the year was it? Early bow season, or was it early bow season?
It was late October, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was pretty early.
Yep. Right.
And
before the rud, anyway.
Oh yeah, way before the rut.
Right.
Way before the rut. And boy, I was just like just a little bit closer, because I had to leave. So I couldn't hunt like the next week or whatever. So I was like really trying to get it in there.
Yeah.
And so finally, the last place I arranged him, he was second to last. He was 65 yards, and he kind of stopped and threw his nose up in the air, and I was scared he was going to wind me. And man, he took like a couple of big steps, and a couple of big steps for a mature deer is a long ways.
Yeah,
so I ranged him one more time. He was at 56 yards. And he kind of put his weight back on his back hams, like he was going to, like, run out of there.
Right.
He was right at my scent line. And I was scared to death, and I'd been hunting so hard. And, I was like, I got to sling one out there.
Yeah.
I got to try. And I drew back with him at 56 yards and slung an arrow out there. And when that arrow hit that deer, I about fell out of that stand.
Have you ever shot one that far?
I've never shot one that far.
Have you practiced that far before?
Like 2 days before, I was like joking with my dad, because my dad, we're always competing. And I was like, I'm gonna shoot my target at 50 yards. I'm gonna do better than you or whatever,
Yeah.
And so just for fun, I'd shot at 50 2 days before, and thank goodness I did, and made sure my 50 pin was on.
Right.
And I had shot him at 56 yards, and boy, the impact on that deer, it sounded, I don't know, it was crazy. It sounded like a block of concrete getting broke. It was crazy. Yeah. And he ran about 50 yards to the other side of the food plot, and when he hit the wood line, I saw my arrow come out.
Okay.
And I was like, ooh, like it didn't look like it had come like out the other side. It came like
came back out the way it went in.
right. And I'm shooting like 100 grain Grim Reaper.
Right.
So, and I'm pulling back 70 pounds. So
wow, that's good. Yeah.
I'm like, this scary. You know, I thought I'd hit, maybe a shoulder blade or something, right? So, you know, I kind of just was like freaking out for a while. And after a little while, I'm texting my dad, and I hear him start bellowing, like he had laid down. Yeah. And so then I got really excited. So about 10 minutes after that, my uncle came and got me, and my dad was hunting about a couple of miles away, and he was dying to get out of his stand and come look with us. And we looked that night and jumped him and didn't want to rush him or anything. And so we left him that night. And of course, I didn't sleep that night.
No, heck no.
And so the next day we went out there and looked for probably about 45 minutes, and we were on good blood. It was just going forever. And so we just called in a dog for safe measures and called the dog, and the dog didn't take 5 seconds, ran up to him, and I mean, you can just imagine.
He was already dead.
Oh,
at that
yeah,
point.
he was all rigor mortis.
Yeah.
He was, I mean, and you can imagine all the emotions. It was kind of crazy.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, he is a beautiful, big deer. We end up scoring 140.
140.
As an 8-point. That's just an unbelievable deer. Yep.
22 years old, my second Buckmaster certificate. It's pretty high honors.
Like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I've got just 3 or 4, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm supposed to be a professional hunter and all that kind of stuff with TV shows. So you're doing awesome. So
I'll hunt hard for sure.
Yeah.
It's
It
one
does.
of my
It
passions.
takes hours in the stand, time. You got to live it to.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes have success. You hear some stories of somebody just go in there, show up, and not know what they're doing and kill a big one, but it's usually because somebody else did the work. But
no, that's right.
It makes it a lot more meaningful too when you have put in the hours, just like you talk about. And
third generation. Down there's my pawpaw right there.
Yeah.
And that's my daddy right there, and I'm the third generation, and they definitely, I couldn't do it without them.
Right.
That's my uncle down there. We all work together to, produce big deer out of our family land.
That's awesome. I grew up in Bienville Parish in Arcadia, and my granddad got me into hunting, and my dad, and so we still have our family farm out there, but I bet we've only killed 1 or 2 deer this size on that farm. They're smaller out there, but that's a great deer. So
Thank you.
We appreciate you here at Simmons Sporting Goods coming to the Big Buck Awards Day and entering him in the contest, and we hope you bring one bigger next year.
Hey, I'll keep on trying.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Wicked Blend from Browning, the ultimate in waterfowl ammunition, featuring the Wicked Wad system. Aerodynamically stabilized for greater downrange energy and extra knockdown power. Loaded with precision bismuth and plated steel shot that delivers high energy retention with consistent tight patterns for cleaner kills and easy retrieves. Wicked Blend from Browning, the best there is.